everyone, my name's Hani. I'm a newly qualified doctor from London and I'm really interested in skincare, and I thought it might be a nice idea to start this YouTube channel just to share some of my insights, some of the things I've learned not only while at medical school but also things I've learned from my own experiences. I've had a lot of bad skin over the years and in like more than one way. So I've had issues with texture, I've had actual just acne, like quite badly at points. I've had hormonal issues with my skin. I've had hyperpigmentation as well, like really bad, like suffered quite badly with it. And I'm really interested in the future, like if it's written for me, to develop skincare products for people of color, because we have issues that affect us uniquely. Hyperpigmentation, especially peri-orally and peri-orbitally, so around the mouth and around the eyes, is a thing that affects us in a way that it doesn't affect people who aren't of color. And I honestly think that if it was something that affected white people, that it would be really easy to just get products for these things from like Boots and Superdrug, or like what's the American equivalent, or like Walgreens or CVS. Whereas in reality, as it stands, you have to seek out expensive dermatologists and private clinics to get treatment for that kind of thing. Which is a shame, and hopefully I would like to change that one day. So in my family, people come to me if they have skincare concerns, and my brother thought he had dry skin for a really long time and has spent a long time using products for dry skin. He asked me to have a look at his skin, and when I had a look, I was under the impression that his skin wasn't actually dry at all, and that he actually has dehydrated skin. And what I'm going to do today is talk about dehydrated skin in a way that is hopefully both comprehensive but also understandable, like in a way that makes sense. Talk about the difference between dehydrated and dry skin. That's, I think, one of the things that causes the most confusion. So dry skin is a skin type. Dry skin is skin that doesn't produce enough oil, whereas dehydrated skin is skin that isn't retaining enough water. So there's a layer, I'm going to go into the layers of the skin in a moment, but there's a layer of the skin called the dermis that holds water. And in someone who's got dehydrated skin, there isn't enough water in that layer of the skin. Let's talk about the layers of the skin. So the skin is made of 5 layers. The first layer is called the microbiome. It's a layer of bacteria that lives on your skin. And I know that sounds really, really gross, but the bacteria that live on your skin are kind of like what they call the good bacteria in like yogurt adverts. It's bacteria that lives on your skin and it's adapted to your skin, and it doesn't cause you any harm, or it doesn't damage your skin or cause acne in any way. But it being there means that other bacteria that land on your skin are outcompeted for like resources and space by the bacteria that live on your skin already. Now, what I mean by that is if I put my hand on my face now, for example, that would be introducing new bacteria to my skin. But the good bacteria that already live on your skin are better at living on your skin than new bacteria that gets introduced. So the new bacteria can't actually survive on your skin if you've got a good microbiome, which is why I think bacteria get a bad rep. Like, honestly, like they can be very helpful sometimes. And so for that reason, the skin is actually part of your immune system. The skin is part of what we call your non-specific immune system. So that's the very first layer of the skin. And that's why using things like antibacterial hand wash can be really, really bad for your face and actually produce acne and things like that, because it's killing off the bacteria that's meant to live there, your microbiome. So that's a really important layer. The next layer is what we call the acid mantle. And it's not really a layer, it's more like a film. It's like a thin acidic film on the skin, and it's a weak acid, so the pH is around 5.5. I'll tell you why the pH is significant in a moment. The fact that it's very slightly acidic means, again, microorganisms can't survive well on your skin. So the microorganisms that already live on your skin, your microbiome, are adapted to survive at that pH. But new bacteria that might land on your skin for whatever reason, like sleeping on a pillow that's dirty, or like I said, leaning on your hand, using your phone against your face, etc., all those things, the bacteria that's being introduced to your face can't survive at this pH level. And so the acid mantle is a really important layer of your skin in terms of making sure that you don't get breakouts and things like that. And the reason I mentioned the pH of 5.5 was, so when you use a toner, which is a product that people often use between cleansing and moisturizing, toners are normally bringing the pH of your skin back to normal. So if you've used the cleanser that's made your skin not pH 5.5, a toner is normally pH balancing. So when you put that on your face, you're taking your skin back to 5.5, where it's slightly acidic and microorganisms and foreign bacteria aren't able to survive on your skin very well. Okay, so that's the acid mantle. The next layer is where the skin actually begins, is what people refer to as the lipid barrier or the moisture barrier, or what is actually called the stratum corneum. So the stratum corneum is a layer of your skin that's made of shedding skin cells plus lipids, and lipids are fat. A layer of dead cells glued together by fat. And that layer is so important for maintaining your skin health. And I'll explain why. So the way that layer is arranged is like a meshwork of dead skin and like fat gluing it together. And some people also like to think of it as like bricks. So the skin cells would be the bricks and the fat is like the mortar or the cement holding the bricks together. And the reason that layer is so important is because that layer of like fat and skin prevents water, which is being held further down into the skin, from evaporating out of the skin. This is a very random example. Okay, so if I have a book and I like dip it in water, and then the book is now really wet, right? But if I just leave the book out, eventually the water will evaporate and the book will dry out eventually. But imagine I like dip, so I've wet the book and then I've covered the book in like a really thick layer of Vaseline all over. The water now couldn't evaporate out of that. Does that make sense? It's a thick waxy layer that's holding all the moisture that's deeper down within. So that's why your lipid barrier is so important. It's keeping water inside of your skin. It's keeping your skin supple and moisturized by retaining the water that's in a deeper level of the skin, which is known as the dermis. And so remember, we said dry skin is skin where there's not enough oil being produced by the lipid barrier. Dehydrated skin is skin where there's probably enough oil being produced by the lipid barrier, but actually there's actually not enough water in the deeper layers of the skin, such as the dermis. And that can be due to a damaged moisture barrier. So if you don't have that moisture barrier, that layer of Vaseline that's preventing your water evaporating out, that can be a reason you have dehydrated skin. You can also have dehydrated skin because you're dehydrated, so you're not drinking enough water. So there are a few tells to know if you're dehydrated. So some of these things will be things on your face. So really dry, flaky skin, sunken eyes can all be signs of dehydration. But there's actually ways of just assessing if you're dehydrated from looking at the rest of your body in general. So one of these things is having a look at your, what we call your mucous membranes. So like the fleshy bits of your skin, so like around the inside of your mouth, the inside of your eyes. And, you know, does your tongue look dry? Are there cracks in your tongue? Things like your urine output, so how much you're peeing is a really good indicator of how hydrated you are. Are you one of those people? I didn't realize I thought I had a really strong bladder because I never ever need to pee, but then I at one point realized actually I just don't drink enough water, and so I corrected that by drinking more water. So how often you need to go to the bathroom to pee. The color of your urine as well, it shouldn't ever really be darker than a pale yellow, but also just keeping a mental track of how much you're drinking, so just being aware of how much water you drink. So 2 liters a day is recommended. I've actually learned that there's not really that much scientific basis for that number, but it's a number that seems to work for most people. So 2 liters a day is a good place to start in terms of drinking water. Other things are skin turgor. So if I pinch my skin up like that, it should immediately spring back to where it was. If it's even slightly delayed, that can be a sign of dehydration. Other tells of dehydration are things like capillary refill. So if you pinch the end of your finger, it'll go yellow and the color should return within 2 seconds. If it takes longer than 2 seconds, that can be a sign of dehydration. And then another thing is things like low blood pressure. If you measure your blood pressure, although some people do just have slightly lower blood pressure, and dizziness. And those two kind of go hand in hand because the dizziness will often be as a result of the low blood pressure. So those are all signs that you're dehydrated. And so if you have those coupled with skin that feels tight, that feels dry, and that is flaky, often that can be a sign of dehydration. Dehydrated skin doesn't always appear dry. You can have skin that looks greasy and feels greasy, but it's like an internal dryness, whereas dry skin is like an external dryness, if that makes sense. And so really, to repair dehydrated skin, there's 2 things that you want to think about. You want to think about obviously drinking more and hydrating more, but also about repairing your lipid barrier. So that lipid barrier, that layer of fat and dead cells at the uppermost layer of the epidermis, you can actually approach repairing it internally or externally. So one of my all-time favorite products is niacinamide. It's one of my favorite skincare ingredients. And the reason it is it has a lot of benefits, but one of them is that it increases ceramide production in the skin. And ceramides are one of the lipids in the lipid barrier. So niacinamide is an ingredient that's going to increase your body's production of ceramides. It's going to increase your lipid barrier from the inside out. Another way around it is to use ceramides directly on the skin. So lines like CeraVe, for example, which I've actually got one of their products in my little haul that I did for my brother. CeraVe, all their products have like some ceramides in, and ceramides, once again, as I said, are one of the lipids that are in the lipid barrier. So niacinamide is kind of an inside out approach, and ceramides would be an outside in approach. But obviously both achieve the same function of repairing your moisture barrier. And that's also why over exfoliation and over cleansing of the skin aren't good for the skin, because if you're constantly stripping your face of all these oils and depleting your moisture barrier, you can actually end up with skin that's really dry because you don't have that layer of Vaseline that's preventing all the water evaporating out of the dermis. You can end up with skin that actually has really bad acne, which is ironic because people often overwash to try and get rid of acne. But overwashing, getting rid of that lipid barrier, means that anything can come into your skin. That layer of Vaseline, I've really stressed its role as one of not letting water evaporate, but it also prevents bad things coming in. Imagine like your layer of Vaseline, it's going to be really difficult for things like harmful and pathogenic bacteria and viruses to penetrate the skin. So when you get rid of that lipid barrier, you can actually do a lot of harm by enabling harmful bacteria to actually enter the skin, which can make your acne worse. So that's why overwashing and things like that aren't recommended. Ditto exfoliation. You shouldn't really be exfoliating more than once or twice a week, and I personally prefer to use a chemical exfoliant rather than a physical one. Okay, so I'm now going to get into some of the products that I got my brother.
Hey everyone, so I actually was doing the haul for the products that I got my brother for his dehydrated skin, but this part of the video literally took 35 minutes, so I thought it would probably be too long of one video. But if that's something you'd like to see, I can film it as a separate video. If that's something you want, please let me know. I'm going to end the video there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the content was informative. Please leave a like as it helps me so much. Subscribe if you can. And if you have any questions or anything you want me to clarify, or if you just want to leave a comment, please do so below. Thank you so much. Love you guys. Bye.
Yeah, dirty. How we let it get like this? I don't know.